He's doing big money moves, dude. He's doing things that you can't even understand.
The economic fallout of these tariffs. So this 90-day pause, while applying to most countries but not China, is a welcome development.
So is it people like Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, who's a very rich man in his own right and credited for having a big financial brain, and the other titans of Wall Street who rang up Donald Trump over recent days and says, lay off, you got to be kidding?
Well, I'm sure they played a role, but one thing we've learned...
Yeah, Jamie Dimon made the boss call, and Trump was like, sorry, Mr. Dimon, I apologize, I'll fix it. When you ruin global trade because you're bored, but then Jamie Dimon makes a boss call and you go, all right, my bad, bro, shit.
This president, he has his own mind and makes his own decisions based on his own considerations.
Now, what about China? I mean, 125% tariff on China, that's unprecedented, isn't it?
It's unprecedented, and frankly, it ends trade between the two countries. China has already responded with higher tariffs, and I think
this, by the way, is precisely why I said like 104%, 124% doesn't fucking matter. It's effectively a trade embargo.
But what's now going to happen is both sides have exhausted their tariff application, so now they may look elsewhere. To other tools and other weapons they can use against each other, and that concerns me.
And who is this more damaging for, China or the US?
I think it depends who you ask.
But what do you think, as someone who's dealt with both sides?
I think both sides are going to feel pain from this, but given China's relatively weak economy, I think the pain will be greater on them. But I also think that the Chinese are in it for the long term. I think that they can endure, and Xi Jinping will do what he needs to do to help them weather through this storm.
They have a higher pain threshold than American society, presumably.
Yes, yeah.
And I mean, to what extent is this about politics and not really about trade?
Look, it's hard to distinguish both of them. I think this started as a genuine trade dispute. I think now it's getting into politics, but it's also getting into personalities.
China has a stronger economy, better capabilities of manufacturing, the capacity to also boost domestic trade in times of need, secondary markets that they've set up so that if this uncertainty becomes a reality where America severs ties with China, that they can at least like restructure their outflowing exports into other places. And yet, for some weird reason, they're like, nah, China is weak as fuck. Oh my goddamn Bilibili accounts are popping, dude. American blogger watches Hassan's speed tour. 256,000. 922,000. What the hell's going on, dude? Hassan Lemon Brother? What does that mean? Bro already moved on from us, GG. It means you're jealous. Hassan Lemon Brother. Trump's rednecks and brother Tiao Mei. I looked at Bilibili and I didn't expect there to be so many Chinese so many fans of China. I searched for XC HASANABI speed and I couldn't stop laughing when I saw my good brother's perverted behavior. Yeah, let me tell you something, okay? When I'm posting just for China. American blogger HASANABI, watching Speed's China trip made me envious and jealous. I want to go to China. They call iShowSpeed hyperthyroidism, brother. Brother hyperthyroidism, by the way. Yeah, I don't even know y'all, bro. Y'all are dead to me. Y'all are so dead to me. All of you American watchers, I've found a new market, dude.
Well, and how they negotiate. And let's just say both China and the U.S. right now, neither is blinking and both are escalating.
The Trump administration has repeatedly said, as have other administrations, that China has used unfair trade practices.
Asmongold? There's Asmongold heads in China? Chinese English. Asmongold TV. Calling women household items on Facebook is now allowed. Yeah, he don't got no motion in the Chinese markets in the same way that I do, okay? You see that? He doesn't have motion in the Chinese markets. That's why I'm leaving you guys behind. I'm leaving you guys behind. Marvel competition characters versus the Marvel Avengers game characters. That one got a lot of play. Wait, what? It's actually a racist comment. Hyperthyroidism is extremely prevalent in black communities. Seeing the other racism he's faced in China, I wouldn't be surprised. You think random Chinese netizens are calling him hyperthyroidism because they know that it's extremely prevalent in the black community? Are you fucking insane? No, it's because I suspect that Speed opens up his eyes real wide sometimes, and I think that's what they're referencing. Like he has high energy, and probably because of his reactions in general. I doubt that it's because they Obama. All right, let's keep going.
Stealing intellectual property rights, etc. We know the score. Do they have a point? And will this redress some of that, do you think, in the future?
Hassan, you're underestimating races that use sickle cell as a slur. Dog. We're talking about Chinese people. They don't know enough about black culture or black people in general to know, like, well thought out, deep lore racism memes. That's my point.
Well, clearly, there are valid concerns about not only the openness of the Chinese market, but how can you compete against Chinese companies that are receiving subsidies and all types of financial assistance and assurances from their government? So these issues.
Jiakong J translates to hyperactive bro in English. It's a Chinese internet nickname for IShowSpeed, reflecting his energetic personality. Jiakong means hyperthyroidism, but is slang for hyperactive, and Jia means brother or bro. There you go. It's somewhat of a mistranslation. I don't think it's because of hyperthyroidism implying that you have bulging eyes. I don't even think it's that. I think it's just that he's hyperactive. Why do Americans try to find racism in anything? The cotton bouquet wasn't racist. Ordering KFC via drone delivery is not racist. And hyperthyroidism refers to his energy because the first meme that blew up of him shouting. Your community got more woke than you? My community is always more woke than me. I yell half the time I'm in here yelling at the people who are more woke than me.
Issues need to be addressed.
And those countries like Indonesia and Vietnam or Cambodia, which were hit with massive tariffs, partly because they were doing some of China's business and then selling it to the US, presumably they live another day, don't they? Or another 90 days.
Yes, but during these 90 days, they are going to be pressured to take a number of steps, including reining in Chinese investment and Chinese trade that's moving through their borders.
And from your experience of dealing with trade issues, do you think this is a lasting reprieve? I mean, what's going to happen after 90 days? Are we back to where we were on Wednesday? I guess you have to be a psychologist more than an economist, right?
90 days right now in this world seems like a long time. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed for our negotiators that they can find some solutions with countries, particularly in Asia.
And just briefly, we know that the European Union was planning, a very calibrated response of their own tariffs against the US that hadn't yet kicked in. Presumably, they're part of that reprieve, aren't they?
The way I read it, they are, even though they just announced today some tariffs in response to earlier tariff measures from the Trump administration. So I think they're also given the reprieve. And again, I think the EU and the US can use that time to negotiate.
Wendy Cutler, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Well, also today, Canada has confirmed that it will impose a 25% retaliatory tariff on certain vehicle imports from the United States. A short time ago, Prime Minister Mark Carney hit out at Mr. Trump, accusing him of rupturing the global economy. Listen.
We've seen the impact of this chaos. Volatility in global financial markets, retirement savings being put at risk. And here in Canada, President Trump's tariffs are threatening Canadian labor and Canadian business. They're putting people's livelihoods in jeopardy.
And I think we should...
I love you. This is just me, but you definitely got rose-colored glasses for China law. I know for a fact you've seen the videos of people giving Speed KFC and that girl straight, saying she's an N-word killer. Let's not act like it's not a major anti-blackness there and the Chinese people are babies. They don't know what they're talking about. No. I literally covered all that here. What are you talking about? I'm not saying that there's no racism in China. What the fuck? I'm saying that that's basic levels of racism. Okay? That's just like basic ass what you see is what you get. Clear-cut racism. The national nickname for Speed being hyperthyroidism, brother, is probably not some deep lore racist shit, and more so just that he is hyperactive. Jesus fucking Christ. Also, literally everywhere iShowSpeed has gone, there's been insane amounts of racism. That's just the reality of being black, unfortunately, in an otherwise white supremacist world. Like, did you guys not see the way he was treated in like fucking Poland and shit? Yeah, anti-black racism is a universal principle at this point. I didn't say that they were. I never said that like iShowSpeed has experienced zero racism. I'm simply saying the most common way of referring to him is not like some inside baseball national super racist meme, most likely.
Now that we don't really know whether that 25% retaliatory tariff from Canada still applies. Now, joining me here is Mark DiPlacido.
Also, China literally likes Speed more than many of the other countries that he's visited. Like, probably likes him the most. Not due to the color of his skin or whatever, but because he is an incredibly successful, incredibly popular American content creator who is cutting through who's cutting through all of the noise and all of the anti-China propaganda and showing his audience of very young people that China is not the backwards peasant nation, but instead a nation that has actually surpassed the United States in living standards in many instances, especially in the tier 1 cities. Okay? That's it. They fucking love him.
A policy advisor for the conservative economic think tank American Compass. Thanks for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Same question to you. Did Trump blink?
Yes, I think last week what we saw was the president really reset the entire U.S. trade paradigm and as an effect, the world paradigm. And there were sort of 3 core elements to that strategy. There was.
Am I going to cover the Canadian elections when it happens? Didn't it already end at this point? Basically, Donald Trump basically gift wrapped a liberal victory, all but assured with his actions, and the association that the conservatives had with the American Conservative Party has completely cooked them. No.
The 10% global tariff that's still in effect, higher tariff rates on China with the goal of shifting world markets as a whole away from the Chinese market, and reciprocal tariffs. Obviously, the open question is sort of the third leg of that policy. I think we're going to hear a lot over the coming 90 days, reinforcing that idea that Trump is still committed to balance with all of our trade partners and balance overall.
You're crediting him with a kind of a cunning master plan. It sounds like he's making up stuff on the back of a cigarette packet.
I think the president has made clear that the end goal is balance, and that balance can't just be struck between China and the United States anymore. It has to apply to the world. And we saw in the first administration, when the administration really did stick to China, China was able to reach the American market through third countries. So I think we're going to continue to see a lot of pressure on allies and other trade partners to get that balance.
But those third countries like Vietnam and Cambodia, they've got their 90-day reprieve. Those factories making those Chinese goods are still in those countries. What makes you think they won't carry on making Nikes and selling them to you guys?
Well, I think that's the point of the entire policy. The president has been flagging the trade deficit as an issue since the middle of the 80s. He ran against 17 other candidates in 2016 and a handful of other candidates in the last 2 cycles. And the American people and Republican Party have continued to pick him to lead our economy into a new era. I think he's going to continue to hammer on that balance and set up a new incentive structure in our economy to reshore and bring back industry.
But on that point, the whole idea of this was to give those jobs back to the Rust Belt that had disappeared to China and other countries years ago. That's not going to happen now, is it?
I think it will happen. I think
But
we're
why?
already seeing trillions of dollars of investment into the country, both from domestic.
Why does every young conservative sound exactly the same way? Like, they close your eyes. This is Charlie Kirk speaking. Like, literally.
Companies who have offshored in the past and
Trillions,
foreign
really?
trillions. The administration.
Yeah, trillions, totally. You haven't seen it yet, but I have it on good authority. This is the other thing. It's like Donald Trump is so used to straight up fucking lying, is so used to lying that he just like lies about everything, and people have no way of even demanding the truth. Like there's nothing that you can get out of him. Or he's just like, yeah, no, they're giving straight up trillions, dude. There's a factory being built in every corner right now. You don't see it, but it's happening.
Is now saying there's up to $7 trillion of pledged investment, and we're going to see increased capacity in the country as a result.
But he's just buckled and decided to give a 90-day reprieve, which means that those jobs that were supposed to go to the Midwest are probably not coming anytime soon. At the end of the day, Donald Trump is going to listen to his rich friends more, is he not?
I think that's a completely unfair characterization. I think that's a completely unfair characterization. No, the president kept a 10% global tariff in place on all of our trade partners. And over 100% tariff on China. He's going to continue to keep pressure on our other trading partners and make very clear to him that he...
Yeah, no, totally. It's so unfair, this characterization. Everything is really good. Donald Trump did not back away from the tariffs.
He is willing to stick out the pain. He stuck it out for a week after $6 trillion disappeared off of our stock index. He's clearly not concerned about Wall Street over Main Street.
But even yesterday he was saying, there's not going to be a...
Also, there is no concern for Main Street. What are we talking about? He is applying a de facto 10% price increase across the board for Main Street. That's what a tariff is. It's a sales tax. It's a regressive sales tax. The notion that he's not actually helping Wall Street but helping Main Street is stupid. No, yesterday he was fucking Wall Street and Main Street. Today, he's still fucking Main Street. Main Street is not getting a good bargain out of this. Main Street wasn't even doing well when Wall Street was getting fucked. They were getting fucked too. What are we even talking about?
A reprieve. We're going to carry on with this policy, and today he blinked, he buckled.
And after a week,
the markets at the end of the day is something that he listened.
Like, has anyone in the Trump administration even encountered the question, what do you say to a broad universal sales tax, like a 10% increase in the price of all commodities coming into the United States of America, as the United States of America is still a import economy? Don't you think that will harm the American working class, Main Street, if you will?
No, I think he listens to trade partners who are willing to come to the table and cut a deal. And I think he's going to put pressure on those countries and multinational companies in our country to do what's right for the American people and our economy in the long term.
Some of these countries that were given these extraordinary tariffs, like Cambodia, or Laos, or Lesotho, I mean, they didn't buy your stuff because they simply can't afford it. It's not as if they were putting tariffs on your products. They just can't afford to buy American computers or American cars. Wasn't the punishment of those countries just unfair cruelty?
Well, the other side of the question is what the trade deficit represents, which basically represents Americans consuming $1 trillion more than we're producing. America can't afford to buy these goods year after year at a rate of $1 trillion and sustain that in the long term.
And what happens, just finally and briefly, with China now? I mean, there's a full-on trade war with China, 125% tariffs from your side versus 84% from their side. Where does this end?
I think China has built its entire economy around securing this trade surplus, and systemically, their economy is much more exposed in this trade war than the United States is. Only 25% of our GDP is represented in trade. Theirs is over 35%. Their economy is on a much weaker footing, as the previous guest said. I think America is in a good position, and China is going to blink first.
Lots of blinking going on. Mark DePlacido, thanks very much indeed.